Have you ever walked into a room and felt drawn to someone without knowing why? They didn't say anything flashy, they didn't try to impress anyone. Yet somehow, all eyes noticed. That's not luck. That's magnetic energy, and you can build it too. This isn't about popularity. It's not about pretending to be someone you're not. The truth is, people aren't drawn to what you wear or how much you talk. They're drawn to how you make them feel. They're drawn to your frequency, your energy, your calm, your sense of self. So ask yourself, what kind of presence do you carry? Is it scattered, anxious, trying to please everyone, or is it grounded, present, quietly powerful? Most people chase charisma. They think it's a skill reserved for the few. But real charisma isn't taught. It's remembered. It's who you were before you started hiding parts of yourself to fit in. The most magnetic people don't perform. They return to themselves. This video will take you on a deep, reflective journey. You'll learn how to build a presence that speaks louder than words. You'll understand the silent power of self-awareness, and you'll discover practical steps to attract the right people without ever chasing anyone again. We'll explore how stillness can become your superpower, why silence, when used correctly, is more compelling than speech, why people trust those who are comfortable in their own skin, and how emotional regulation creates a force field around you that others can feel. You'll learn how eye contact, listening, and space create tension and trust. You'll understand why being emotionally calibrated makes people feel safe, and how mystery, not oversharing, makes others lean in. You'll also see why people can't resist those who walk like they know where they're going, even if the path isn't clear yet. And why speaking to someone's identity, not their ego, creates unforgettable connection. But here's the part no one tells you. All this starts with you. Not your looks, not your voice, not your job. You. People magnetism doesn't begin in the mirror. It begins in the mind. The energy you carry when no one is watching becomes the force people feel when they meet you. That's why some people barely speak, but command every room they enter. This is not about performance, it's about alignment. When your inner world is clear, calm, and connected, your outer world reflects that, and people respond. Throughout this audiobook-style journey, you won't hear recycled advice. You'll dive into principles drawn from psychology, behavior science, and lived experience. You'll hear truths that many overlook because they're too quiet to be trendy, but too powerful to ignore. You'll learn how to speak less and say more, how to stop trying so hard to be liked and start becoming someone worth remembering, how to build self-trust so strong that people around you start trusting you too without even knowing why. You'll hear how high performers, leaders, and quietly magnetic people across the world use solitude as a strategy, how their silence isn't shyness, it's strength, and how their lack of noise makes their presence impossible to ignore. This isn't quick fix content, it's transformation content. If you stay with this video till the end, you'll leave with a deep understanding of how to attract people, not just with charm, but with clarity. You'll be reminded that magnetic energy has nothing to do with chasing approval. It has everything to do with returning home to yourself. This is the audiobook you didn't know you needed, but won't forget once you've heard it. Welcome to Narrative Society, where we don't just tell stories, we uncover the layers that make you powerful. If you're ready to stop chasing people and start becoming the kind of person they chase, then keep listening. And if you find value in this journey, don't forget to subscribe to Narrative Society. Your transformation starts now. Before we talk about what makes someone unforgettable in a room full of noise, we have to understand presence. Not the kind that demands attention, but the kind that commands it. The kind that doesn't have to prove anything, because it already feels complete. Presence isn't loud. It doesn't interrupt. It doesn't scramble to be liked. It listens. It watches. It settles in. And somehow, without effort, it pulls people closer. That's the art of presence. There's something magnetic about a person who gives you their full attention. No glancing at the phone, no scanning the room for someone better, just focused, quiet awareness. Most people don't get that kind of attention, even from themselves, so when someone offers it, even for a moment, it feels like safety. It feels like being seen, not scanned. Presence is built in silence first, in learning how to hold your energy, instead of spilling it in every direction. It's the ability to stay grounded in conversation, not reaching for approval, not jumping to reply, but actually absorbing what's being said. Listening with intention is more powerful than any clever line, because when you listen like that, people feel their own words more deeply, and they begin to associate that feeling with you. Magnetic people aren't trying to dominate the room. They don't need to talk over others to feel significant. They've mastered the subtle languages, eye contact that doesn't stare but connects, posture that doesn't shout but holds steady, hands that don't fidget but rest calmly in their own space. These things don't seem loud, but they build trust fast. People respond to what's unspoken. There's power in stillness, in being okay with silence during a conversation, in not rushing to fill every gap with words. Most people speak out of discomfort. Magnetic people speak with purpose, and when they speak, their words feel deliberate, not rehearsed, not polished, but present, because they're not performing, they're just being. Less talking doesn't mean saying nothing. It means speaking with clarity. It means understanding the weight of words. Some people speak 10,000 words a day and leave no impact. Others speak 10 and are remembered for a lifetime. It's not about how much you say, it's how deep it goes. And nothing goes deeper than truth, delivered without pressure, without agenda. There's a rhythm to magnetic communication. It lives in the pauses, in the breath you take before replying, in the space that allows your words to land. Pauses don't make you seem unsure. They make you real. They make people lean in, because now they're not just hearing what you say, they're feeling it. Pauses create space for meaning. Tone matters too. A soft voice can be more powerful than a loud one. Calmness can cut through chaos, and people remember how you made them feel, not how clever you were. The voice that carries compassion, calm, or conviction is more persuasive than any polished speech. Think about the words you use. Do they uplift? Do they reflect truth? Do they make the person in front of you feel heard, not judged? Magnetic people speak less about themselves and more into others, not in a way that flatters, but in a way that reflects. They make people feel seen, not sold to. There's a reason people trust those who say less. It's because restraint suggests depth. It implies that there's more going on than what's being shared, and people are drawn to mystery, not confusion, but clarity wrapped in simplicity. The fewer words you use, the more meaning they carry. That's not silence. That's precision. True presence doesn't push for attention. It holds space for others. It doesn't overcompensate. It relaxes. It listens without planning a response. It speaks when it matters. It observes more than it reacts. And that kind of presence becomes rare in a world addicted to noise. Notice how the most powerful people in a room often say the least. They're not disengaged. They're absorbing. They're selective. They don't speak until their words can shift the air. And when they do, everyone feels it. That's not charisma, that's alignment. The most magnetic presence comes from a still center. Not needing to chase, not needing to control, just being so grounded in who you are that others feel steadier in your presence. You don't have to impress anyone when your energy is clear. You don't have to speak constantly when your silence already says enough. Don't underestimate the impact of eye contact, not the kind that dominates, but the kind that acknowledges, that says, "I see you," without words. It disarms people. It builds bridges. And it signals confidence that doesn't need validation. Body language is a story long before any words are spoken. Crossed arms, shifting feet, darting eyes, these all whisper insecurity. But open posture, relaxed hands, aligned shoulders, these speak trust without uttering a sound. Presence is physical. It's spiritual. It's energetic. Magnetism begins when you realize your presence is a gift. Not everyone deserves it. Not everyone earns your energy, but those who do will remember how it felt to be around you. Not because you entertained them, but because you were real, because you showed up fully. There is freedom in not needing to fill every silence. There is power in letting others speak first. There is influence in being the calmest person in the room. That calm becomes contagious. That stillness becomes memorable. And that's when people start to follow your lead without even realizing why. You don't have to talk to be noticed. You have to be present. You have to mean what you say and say only what matters. The rest, let it go. There's too much noise already. Be the clarity. Be the pause. Be the one who listens. Presence is the rarest currency today. Spend it wisely. People instinctively move closer to what feels safe. Not in the physical sense, but emotionally. They lean toward energy that doesn't spike with anxiety, that doesn't shift with every mood in the room. Emotional calibration is that invisible gravity. It's not loud. It's not dramatic. It's steady. It's the ability to remain internally centered when everything external spins out of control. People don't always know how to name it, but they remember how it feels. Being emotionally calibrated doesn't mean suppressing your emotions. It means you've done the work to understand them. You don't leak them onto others. You don't weaponize them. You know when to sit with a feeling and when to release it. This creates an environment where others can let their guard down because they know they won't be judged, triggered, or pulled into unnecessary emotional drama. They feel your presence as permission to breathe. It's in the small moments, a conversation where someone is venting, and instead of reacting or matching their intensity, you respond with calm clarity. You don't diminish their pain. You don't amplify the chaos. You hold space. You witness. That's when people feel emotionally safe. Not because you gave them a solution, but because you didn't add more noise to their storm. Emotional balance is the rarest kind of strength. It's not built overnight. It's practiced in silence when no one is watching. In moments when you feel triggered but choose not to lash out. When you feel tension but respond instead of react. When you realize that your energy is your responsibility, and in that responsibility lies your magnetism. The truth is, people don't follow logic as much as they follow energy. They remember tone more than words. They absorb your emotions more than your opinions. If your presence communicates calm, even in high-energy environments, you create a natural gravitational pull because that calm is contagious. It signals leadership without a title. It whispers, "You're safe here," and people listen. We often think influence means louder voices, sharper opinions, or constant performance. But the opposite is true. Influence comes from stillness that can't be shaken, from emotional maturity that doesn't need to prove itself, from clarity in the middle of noise. When the room is tense and you stay grounded, you're not invisible, you're magnetic. In emotionally chaotic environments, calm becomes power. When everyone is spiraling and you stay composed, people notice, not because you forced their attention, but because your energy stood out. The calm one becomes the anchor. And anchors aren't loud, they're steady. They hold things together without needing applause. Radiating positive expectation is another subtle art of magnetism. It's not about flattery, it's not about pretending, it's about holding a quiet belief in people's potential even when they don't see it yet. That belief doesn't need to be spoken, it's felt. People feel your energy before they hear your encouragement. And when your energy says, "I believe in you," they rise. Positive expectation isn't blind optimism. It's choosing to see through the lens of possibility rather than limitation. It's treating others not as they are, but as they could be, without forcing them, just holding the space for their growth. That space becomes a mirror, and people begin to see a better version of themselves in your reflection. People rarely remember your advice. They remember how you made them feel in your presence. Were you tense, judgmental, distracted, or were you grounded, uplifting, reassuring? Emotional experiences attached to memory. That's why one short moment with a calm person can be more transformative than an hour-long motivational speech. Motivational speeches fade. Uplifting presence lingers. Because it doesn't demand, it supports. It doesn't instruct. It reflects. And in that reflection, people find their own strength. That's what makes your energy unforgettable, not what you say, but what you carry. Everyone's looking for some form of emotional safety. Whether they admit it or not, people want to feel like they don't have to perform, defend, or shrink. When you offer that space, not by fixing them, but by simply being emotionally grounded, you become the safest place in the room, and people return to safety. There's a sacredness in emotional stability. It holds weight without heaviness. It offers peace without preaching. It invites others to drop their armor, even for a second, and that moment of disarmament can change everything. It can unlock connection. It can rebuild trust. It can shift someone's path without you even knowing. Words matter less when your energy speaks louder. If your presence says, "I see you, you're safe, you're capable," the words are just an echo. That's emotional magnetism. It's rooted in awareness. It's fueled by self-regulation, and it grows with time and intentional practice. Self-regulation doesn't mean emotional numbness. It means emotional intelligence. Knowing the difference between reacting and responding, recognizing the impulse, and choosing not to be ruled by it, owning your mood instead of letting your mood own you. This level of emotional responsibility is what elevates your presence from pleasant to powerful. In a world where emotional volatility is normalized, calmness becomes a rare currency. It's not the absence of emotion, it's the mastery of it. And mastery doesn't happen through suppression. It happens through understanding, through observation, through making peace with your inner world so that the outer world doesn't hijack your balance. When you walk into a room with calibrated energy, you don't need to assert your presence. Your presence asserts itself. People lean in. They slow down. They soften. Because calm is healing, and healing is magnetic. The secret isn't in having all the answers. It's in being grounded enough to sit with the questions. It's in being present enough to listen without interrupting. It's in being human enough to feel, but wise enough not to be consumed.
That's the paradox of true influence. It's not loud, it's not urgent, it's subtle, it's steady, and it shifts the room without needing to say a word. Emotional calibration is the foundation, and from that foundation, every interaction becomes a bridge, not a battle. The most magnetic people in the world aren't perfect. They're present. They've learned that energy is louder than volume. That safety is more persuasive than style. And that belief, when felt, not forced, can change everything. Some people walk into a room and draw attention without saying a word. It's not what they reveal, but what they withhold. The mystery effect is one of the most underrated forms of magnetism. It doesn't demand attention, it invites curiosity. In a world where oversharing is common and noise is constant, the one who knows how to leave space, how to pause, how to remain undefined, stands out. Mystery creates a sense of anticipation. It's not secrecy, it's selectiveness. It's the subtle restraint that makes others want to know more. You don't hand over every detail of your story at once. You let people earn access. You reveal layers gradually, not because you're hiding, but because depth takes time to uncover. That time creates tension. That tension sparks interest. And interest is what keeps people coming back. Oversharing might feel like connection, but often it becomes noise. It overwhelms. It leaves nothing for the imagination. The mind is drawn to unanswered questions, unfinished sentences, and quiet confidence. When someone doesn't explain every emotion, every opinion, every movement, the mind begins to fill in the blanks. That's the hook. That's how mystery works. It doesn't chase attention. It attracts it through presence that hints rather than declares. Being warm and reserved is more powerful than being loud and open. Warmth builds safety. Reserve builds intrigue. When these two qualities meet, people feel both welcomed and captivated. They feel seen, but not overwhelmed. They sense there's more beneath the surface, but they have to lean in to find it. That act of leaning in creates engagement. It's not forced. It's not performed. It's natural magnetism. People mistake openness for authenticity, but authenticity doesn't mean constant exposure. It means alignment. You can be real without being loud. You can be open without being vulnerable to everyone. The truly magnetic person knows how to be present while protecting their mystery. They give just enough to connect, but not enough to be predictable, and in that unpredictability lies power. Mystery doesn't make you distant, it makes you dimensional. It adds contrast to your presence. One moment you're expressive, the next you're reflective. One moment you share, the next you pause. That rhythm keeps people engaged. It mirrors the natural ebb and flow of emotion, thought, and attention. People aren't just listening, they're feeling the space you're creating. And in that space, their curiosity grows. Magnetic people don't fill silence for the sake of it. They allow it. They let others speak. They listen without rushing to respond. They aren't afraid of the pause between words because they understand that presence isn't measured by volume. It's measured by impact, and impact often comes from what's felt more than what's said. Part of that impact comes from mirroring, not mimicking, not copying, but naturally reflecting the emotions and energy of the person in front of you. It's an invisible skill, soft, subtle, incredibly powerful. When someone is speaking with excitement, you match their pace with enthusiasm. When they're quiet and thoughtful, you slow down too. This alignment makes people feel safe. It tells them, "You get me."
without having to say it out loud. We all move through emotional rhythms, some fast, some slow, some chaotic, some calm. When someone mirrors our current rhythm, it feels like resonance. It feels like we're not alone in our experience. That resonance is often more comforting than advice, more connecting than conversation. It builds trust before words are even processed. Matching tone, pace, and emotional state doesn't mean becoming someone else. It means becoming aware. It means tuning in to the unspoken language of energy. Most people don't listen with their full attention. They wait to speak. They interrupt. They steer conversations. But those who mirror without ego, those who enter the other person's tempo, leave a lasting impression. True connection isn't forced through persuasion, it's grown through alignment, and alignment happens when you drop the need to impress and simply focus on presence. Magnetic people let others feel seen without trying to be seen. They give space for others to speak, and in doing so, create an echo of mutual understanding. People feel understood not when you say the right thing, but when your energy matches theirs. It's like tuning two instruments until they harmonize. No need for perfect words, just perfect presence. When someone says, "You just get it," it's rarely because of what was said. It's because of how you made them feel. That feeling doesn't come from knowing everything. It comes from mirroring their moment with gentleness. Silence can be one of the most magnetic forces in communication. Not the awkward kind, the intentional kind. The kind that holds space for deeper thought. The kind that allows words to breathe. When you speak with fewer words, people listen more closely. They sense there's value behind what you choose to say, and that makes every sentence more powerful. Mystery also allows you to stay emotionally centered. When you don't feel the need to explain everything, you protect your energy, you remain grounded, you create emotional boundaries without building walls. That groundedness becomes attractive, because in a world of reactive minds, a centered presence becomes a refuge. The allure of the unknown isn't just poetic, it's primal. Our brains are wired to solve puzzles, to chase the ending of a story. When you become a story not easily told, a puzzle not easily solved, people become invested. Not because you're playing games, but because you're not collapsing your identity into a one-dimensional image. You're dynamic, and dynamics attract attention. In relationships, whether personal or professional, mystery invites depth. It sets the stage for trust to build slowly, authentically. There's no pressure to reveal everything at once. You let people walk the journey with you. Each conversation peels back a layer. Each interaction reveals something new. That slow reveal keeps interest alive. It maintains momentum. It creates a bond that isn't based on instant gratification, but lasting intrigue. The magnetic presence doesn't beg to be noticed. It exists. It flows. It connects through quiet energy, through intentional communication, through the art of mystery, and through the quiet power of mirroring others in a way that makes them feel not just seen, but reflected, understood, and valued. Sip to someone's identity, and they will remember you, not because you flattered them, but because you saw them. In a world where most people only recognize the surface, noticing what lies beneath becomes a rare gift. Complimenting someone on their appearance might bring a smile, but acknowledging their resilience plants something deeper. It says, "I see who you are," when no one's watching, and that type of recognition stays. People want to feel understood beyond their titles, achievements, and roles. When you validate a person's values, their patience, or their quiet strength, you're speaking to their core. You're not praising what they've produced. You're appreciating who they had to become to produce it. That distinction changes everything. Applause fades. Identity-based validation echoes. Compliments that speak to identity cut through the noise. Instead of "you're so good at your job," say "your consistency shows how deeply you care about doing things right." Instead of "you look great," say "you carry yourself with the kind of grace that doesn't ask for attention but earns it anyway." Words that speak to someone's character leave a mark. They go where shallow praise cannot. People bond with those who look past performance. The person who sees your drive, even when you're tired, the one who sees your strength, even when you're doubting, that person becomes unforgettable. Not because they said something clever, but because they made you feel seen in your becoming, not just in your outcome. Everyone wants to feel significant for who they are beneath the doing. The challenge is most conversations stay at the level of ego. Ego loves recognition. Identity needs resonance. And when you choose to resonate, you cut through ego's defense and land in the space where real trust lives. That's where connection begins. Speaking to identity also builds self-awareness in others. When you reflect back someone's core values or traits, you remind them of who they are at their best. It's like holding up a mirror to their inner world. Sometimes people forget what they're made of. A simple line of truth, offered with sincerity, can bring them back home. Words can ground someone in their truth or inflate their need to impress. Choose grounding. Speak to what's real. Celebrate someone's growth. Validate their discipline. Acknowledge the effort they've made to stay kind in a hard world. That kind of speech doesn't just make someone feel good, it helps them become more of who they already are. The same energy applies to how you move through the world. Walking like you know where you're going isn't about having every step mapped out. It's about moving with inner conviction, even when you're still figuring out the details. People feel drawn to those who carry quiet clarity. They sense purpose, even if the path is still unfolding. Direction is magnetic, not the destination. The direction, the willingness to keep walking, to stay committed to growth, to pursue meaning with quiet resolve. That movement speaks louder than grand declarations. You don't need to explain where you're headed. Your posture, your tone, your presence will say it for you. The person who walks into a room with calm certainty pulls focus, not because they demand it, but because they radiate it. There's no rush in their pace, no apology in their stance. They take up space without forcing anything. That kind of energy speaks to a deeper confidence, the kind that isn't tied to outcomes, but to intention. Quiet ambition whispers louder than loud ambition ever could. It doesn't announce plans. It doesn't beg for validation. It simply moves day by day, moment by moment, in alignment with vision. People sense that kind of focus, and they want to follow it. Not because they've been told to, but because something in them trusts it. Confidence isn't about having all the answers. It's about being anchored in your own process. It's about knowing that you're still learning, but not questioning your right to take the next step. That steadiness becomes magnetic, because most people are still looking outside themselves for assurance. The one who finds it within, who trusts their path even through uncertainty, becomes a lighthouse. When you trust your process, others begin to trust theirs. Your presence becomes permission, not through teaching, not through talking, but through being. The way you carry yourself, the way you navigate setbacks, the way you remain grounded when things don't go to plan, all of that speaks volumes. You don't need a stage. You don't need a spotlight. You just need to walk with honesty and intention. Even when the road is unclear, you can move with direction. Even in silence, you can communicate purpose. People aren't inspired by perfection. They're inspired by presence, the kind that says, I'm still becoming, but I believe in where I'm going. That belief becomes contagious. That's how leaders emerge, not through control, but through clarity. The most magnetic individuals speak to others in a way that uplifts their identity and walk in a way that affirms their own. There's alignment between how they see people and how they carry themselves. They see value in others and move with value in themselves. That harmony creates trust. It makes people feel safe to listen, to grow, to stay close. Speaking to identity and walking with direction are not separate ideas. They're reflections of the same energy, the energy of grounded confidence. When you move from that place, you don't need to impress. You don't need to chase. You simply become a mirror for others to find their strength too. In conversations, pause and ask, am I speaking to ego or identity? In your daily steps, ask, am I moving with fear or purpose? These tiny shifts create massive differences. People remember how you made them feel about themselves. They remember how you made them feel about their future. That memory becomes the magnet, the quiet ones, the grounded ones, the ones who speak with intention and move with integrity. They are the people who leave the deepest impact. They don't seek attention, they radiate alignment. They offer presence. And in a distracted world, presence becomes power. Cultivate an energy that feeds, not drains, not by forcing positivity, but by guarding your inner climate. The way you feel becomes the way you lead. The energy you bring into a room becomes your introduction long before you speak. Some people enter quietly, but shift the atmosphere. They radiate calm, warmth, assurance. Others speak loudly but leave the air feeling heavy. Their presence takes more than it gives. The difference isn't volume, it's vibration. People can feel when you're at peace. They can sense when you've done the inner work, not perfectly, not completely, but consistently. Uplifting energy isn't about pretending to be happy all the time. It's about becoming someone who knows how to hold space for yourself and for others without draining it. That kind of presence becomes magnetic. It's a quiet sanctuary in a loud world. The first step to becoming that kind of person is to protect your own energy like it's sacred, because it is. Your mental space is the soil from which your words, actions, and relationships grow. If it's constantly flooded with negativity, chaos, or resentment, nothing nourishing can take root. The mind becomes heavy, the heart becomes closed, and people start to feel the drain even when you don't speak a word. Complaining is a subtle poison. It doesn't just express dissatisfaction, it anchors you in it. Each time you retell your frustrations, your nervous system relives the stress. Each time you spread negativity, even unintentionally, you become a mirror of that chaos for others. It's not about ignoring problems, it's about choosing how you narrate them, how long you dwell, and what kind of emotional residue you leave behind. Gossip is another quiet leak. It might feel harmless, even bonding at times, but it creates an undercurrent of distrust. If you speak about others with judgment when they're not around, people assume you'll do the same to them. Over time, your energy becomes unpredictable. Magnetic people don't just avoid gossip, they redirect it. They change the subject gently. They rise above without needing to correct others. Their silence in those moments speaks volume. Emotional dumping is different from vulnerability. Sharing your struggles is healthy. Dumping them on others without context, boundaries, or care isn't. It turns relationships into emotional drain pipes. Over time, even those who care about you will pull back if every interaction feels like a storm. True strength is being able to process, regulate, and share with intention, not projection. People gravitate toward those who uplift without trying. The ones who listen with full attention, who ask questions that make you reflect, who laugh easily but not mockingly. Their presence gives you permission to breathe a little deeper. They don't fix you. They don't even try. They simply show up with such centeredness that you remember your own. That's the kind of energy that feeds others. Being a source doesn't mean you never have hard days. It means you've cultivated habits that restore you quickly. Meditation, nature, solitude, journaling, intentional silence, these are the quiet rituals of magnetic people. They know how to return to center. They don't wait for the world to calm down. They become the calm. Sometimes the most powerful shift isn't changing what you say, but changing how you feel when you say it. Speaking with love instead of tension, offering feedback with care instead of frustration, choosing patience even when urgency tempts you. These small shifts compound, they change your emotional signature, and people begin to respond not to your words, but to your frequency. Being uplifting isn't about being entertaining, it's about being authentic. Sometimes that means being soft when everyone else is sharp. Sometimes it means being quiet when the room demands noise. Sometimes it means holding space for someone else without needing to insert your own story. These are subtle arts. They go unnoticed by many, but the sensitive ones, the aware ones, they remember. You can't give what you don't have. If your energy is always on empty, you'll either collapse or contaminate. That's why guarding your peace isn't selfish, it's service. It allows you to show up more fully, more consistently, more generously. It allows you to be present without pretense, to love without exhaustion, to lead without ego. Your presence is your power, not because it demands attention, but because it offers stability. People are drawn to those who are emotionally safe, who don't escalate drama, who don't leak tension, who know how to feel deeply without losing their balance. That kind of energy feels rare, and what feels rare becomes valuable. This isn't about being perfect. It's about being intentional, about choosing not to engage in conversations that spiral down, about recognizing when your mind is feeding off stress and gently guiding it back, about letting go of the need to react to every emotion or opinion. The more you practice this, the more grounded you become. And grounding is contagious. When you're grounded, you help others regulate too. Your calm becomes their anchor. Your presence becomes a mirror. You reflect their best self back to them, not by trying, just by being. This is how you cultivate an energy that feeds instead of drains, by living in alignment, by protecting your inputs, by moving slowly when the world rushes, by choosing clarity over chaos, compassion over criticism, stillness over noise. People won't always remember what you said. They won't always remember what you wore. But they will remember how your energy made them feel. Whether they left your presence lighter or heavier, whether they felt seen or scanned, whether they were drawn in or drained. You don't need to have all the answers to be that person. You don't need a perfect past, a polished personality, or a loud voice. You just need to decide, will I add peace or noise today? Will I lift or burden? Will I be the storm or the shelter? One choice at a time, you become magnetic, not by chasing attention, but by becoming the kind of presence that makes people want to stay, not because you're dazzling, but because you're real, calm, nourishing. That is the energy people remember. That is the energy that changes lives quietly, lastingly, and for the better. In a world that moves fast and speaks loud, silent magnetism remains a rare and powerful force. It's not about being the most charming, the most outspoken, or the most impressive. It's about energy, intention, presence. Every magnetic person you've met wasn't trying to be magnetic. They were simply aligned with themselves. They mastered the art of calm. They chose purpose over noise. They listened deeply. They moved intentionally. And in doing so, they created a quiet pull that others couldn't ignore. You don't need to become someone else to radiate that kind of power. You just need to tune into your truest frequency, trust your calm, own your space, protect your energy, let your silence speak louder than the world's distractions. Everything you've learned in this video is already within you. It's not theory, it's potential. Start with one change, one pause, one deeper breath in a chaotic room, one moment of stillness in a loud conversation. That's where magnetism begins. Thank you for watching. If this video resonated with you, give it a like to let us know, and don't forget to subscribe to Narrative Society for more powerful insights on becoming your best self, quietly, intentionally, and fully.